And can everyone see that fine? Okay. All right, well, I'm Stephanie Chadwick with Lamar University, and my paper is Art, History, and Inclusion, Student Successes as Empowerment Examples. James Elkins and other scholars have elaborated the many ways that what we call art is not a set of coherent practices, but instead varies according to cultural and historical contexts. In our era, during a period in which we see and interpret a profusion of images on a daily basis, we've reached a point where objects of all kinds, not merely those deemed to be artistic, warrant study. Seeking to examine a broader array of human artistic production and its artifacts, and to include more work by artists and cultures that have been under or misrepresented in the art historical canons, art historians have embarked upon explorations of history, gender, the body, and other thematic inquiries. Addressing inclusion and diversity of representation is not unique to art history or even to the arts and humanities in general. Indeed, the quest to develop inclusive pedagogy and teaching methods that resonate with 21st century students has been taken up across disciplines. In my classes, which serve primarily undergraduates in art studio, design, and art education, we acknowledge and discuss these concerns. Many of my students are learning the skills to pursue graduate studies, teaching in primary or secondary schools, or museum education roles. Since visual literacy is becoming a crucial component of critical engagement in a variety of media, however, many students will apply their visual and art historical analysis in seemingly unrelated fields. It seems reasonable then to consider the impact of image-related pedagogy to their successes in both art history courses and their future learning, teaching, and career contexts. Inspired by Dee Fink's discussions of significant learning experiences and Grant P. Wiggins and Jay McTee's ideas on understanding by design, in which the end goals are the driving factors in course development, I began rethinking my approach and asking key questions. How can we engage students earlier on with the relevance of visual analysis, history, and discourses on the impact of art produced in both local and global contexts? How can we create active and significant learning experiences that connect students of diverse backgrounds with art and its histories in ways that include close looking and cultivating appreciation of art and exhibitions as social practices? Finally, how can I foster appreciation of art's empowering role models and resources? So I began backing into art history through the lens of global contemporary art. Given the propensity of contemporary artists to explore critical social, political, and historical issues, analyzing contemporary art provides a refreshing window into the art of the past in ways in which it resonates and the ways in which it still resonates today. This approach is combined with using updated interactive resources such as Smart History, an expanded online art history encyclopedia, and our textbook, Art as Living Practice, Southeast Texas and Beyond, and its online written edition written by our department in collaboration with some of our students, alumni, and also art community professionals. The first time I started my Asian art module with photos and video of artist Ai Weiwei dropping priceless Chinese urns, I could tell I had gotten my students' attention. The energy was palpable as they put down their phones and leaned forwards in their chairs, whispering to each other their surprise or indignation at the transgression they were witnessing on the screen. With that one short clip, I not only got their attention, but also introduced that our topic would be Asian art, that it would include discussion of colonialism, commodification, and globalist consumerism, as well as the politics of collecting and display. Showcasing PBS's The Case for Ai Weiwei also prompted my students to make connections between the artist's work and the work of Andy Warhol, and to see in nearly real time the relevance of art history to contemporary practices. I knew I had found a winning strategy for my studio and design majors, who seemed to appreciate the interventionist nature of both the artist and our revitalized art history class. Following on the heels of the Weiwei's success, we began our intro to the art of the Americas with photos and videos of Guillermo Gomez Peña and Coco Fusco. Images of these politically active performance artists, with Gomez Peña in the attire of a Mexican wrestler and matador at the right, with text scrawled on his chest, pleading, "Please don't discover me," really struck a chord. This was particularly so among my Latinx students who were starting to engage in political activism on campus and in their own art. At once, we knew we were in a discussion not only of the history of art in the Americas, but also of colonialism and its histories and politics. Plus, students saw again that history is not only relevant, but an integral part of the practice of contemporary artists making both artistic and political statements. The stakes were high. Art history was not just a class to simply take to fulfill requirements for studio, design, art education, or other degrees. It was a site in which they could investigate art's potential. Increasing relatability and the visibility of diversity in our own classroom and university, I started showing the art of our own graduates who are pursuing work along these lines, inviting alumni to talk about their experiences. A compelling example is 2017 graphic design graduate Gonzalo Alvarez, who created the internationally acclaimed video game installation Borders, and who's completing a series of graphic novels, collectively titled The Legend of Poyo Man, which are based on work he began for his senior, I think I have it on a timer somehow, senior thesis. And that thesis was re-envisioning Mexican folklore that he wasn't ordinarily seeing in American pop culture and wanted to see there. Alvarez had been invited to speak from coast to coast and has studied abroad in Mexico and Japan, home of the anime that also inspired his art. At our invitation, he also regularly reconnects with our students, visiting our classes and serving in turn as an inspiration. Students become interested and more empowered when they learn that someone they could have been classmates with has gone on to create and publish work that is both locally and globally relevant. In addition to exploring the connections between past, present, and future, art history seems to be particularly suited to promoting higher order thinking in the areas of human dimension, caring, and learning how to learn. And creativity, it should be noted, tops the updated version of Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Studying art and its histories benefits from in-person analysis as well, which in turn bolsters creative thinking. These claims are supported by a National Art Education Association and Association of Museum Directors study for the museum experience on primary school students. Synthesizing looking and learning with investigating history and representation, museum learning is a method where skills can be combined and applied to real-world and academic contexts, letting students see that museums are spaces in which diversity and access have become paramount concerns. It stands to reason then that exploring contexts of display, which are their own forms of representation, can enrich the undergraduate educational experience as well. My students and I are excited by the ways being explored to more fully utilize campus and community art museums and galleries. These spaces highlight topics that are relevant to not only my students thinking of visual art and history careers, but also to visitors who thrive when making meaningful connections between diverse contexts of production at home and abroad. There's no substitute for seeing art in person, but since most of these resources now provide online access, we can have these experiences even in smaller communities where larger museums may not be available or when travel might not be an option for students. These activities definitely help students prepare for internships, postgraduate studies, etc., but they also foster community engagement and social responsibility. And I think that's really, really important. And I think we've seen that in a number of cases where we have students coming back who want to work for our department or for our campus art museum. And they come and they regularly say their main goal is to build bridges between the university and the community and to make students feel that they have real accessibility to our resources. I've also been excited by responses to using recent or very well-known exhibitions in my classes, and these can, to begin class, enliven or refocus our class discussion on art history and its relevance today. A great example has been the exhibition Making Africa, which was curated by the Vitra Design Museum and the Guggenheim Bilbao that traveled in the US and that many of our faculty saw at the Blanton Museum of Art at the University of Texas in Austin. Inserting key exhibitions of art history has been an effective way to get students thinking about museums as sites of representational practices. Such inquiries consider the ways in which museum and art history can address issues that resonate with contemporary life and investigations of colonialism, commodification, and social justice, reinforcing the idea that art plays a crucial role in informing and transforming beliefs and practices. In short, exhibitions such as Making Africa get my students' attention. Backing into art history and its issues has emboldened me to experiment with multiple approaches within the same course or even on the same day. One example is having a breakout session on portraiture and politics, within an otherwise temporal coverage of art, revolution, and empire since the Enlightenment. Indeed, to examine the very term Enlightenment and to consider how artists have represented, responded to, and critiqued related discourses. And I think I have about 5 minutes. I'm trying to keep an eye on that. The work of Kehinde Wiley and the Brooklyn Museum of Art exhibition, Jacques-Louis David Meets Kehinde Wiley, has been one way to do this. As is eloquently stated on the museum's website, seen together, the works by David and Wiley reveal how race, masculinity, my slides are no longer advancing. Race, masculinity, power, and representation layer onto portraiture and shape the writing of history. Combining these approaches, I've also tweaked museum visits and online research guides to show how our local and regional museums tackle these issues of providing access to art histories and diverse cultural representations. And I'm showing, okay, I'm not entirely clear, but for some reason I'm no longer able to advance my slides. So what we just saw was an exhibition by Houston-based artist David McGee, and he was basically showing a collection of his works that combined elements from the history of art, formal qualities, as well as political qualities in his series that he titled Black Paintings. And those works were dealing with his identities and experiences as both an African-American artist, African-American and a visual artist. And the image I'm showing now is one of our alumni named Andre Ramos Woodard. And he has also been instrumental. What I'm showing here are Woodard's work. He graduated in 2017 and went on to get his MFA in 2021. And this work that we're seeing here is titled Boom Shakalaka, and it's actually been purchased by the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, and it's been on view since February 2022. This is really amazing because the fact that Ramos Woodard has had work of his acquired, and let me see if I can, my next slides, these are Woodard's works, 2 of his works that have been purchased. To have works purchased by a museum of the caliber of the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, especially as a budding artist just getting his MFA, is really an incredible accomplishment. And it's really, really impactful and empowering to our students. So what Ramos Woodard is doing is exploring the history of racism in American cartoons. And he uses both his photography, often with self-portraits, and drawing. And here also with where he's cut his hair and combine it with this cartoon image, using his work to highlight issues that he wants to tackle. And his issues actually involve race, queer studies, social justice, and a number of other issues that really resonate with our students as well. Accessibility to not only art, but education itself has also become paramount in our classrooms. Checking my time here. The image I'm showing now is actually another Lamar University graduate named Mackenzie Mac Kumpian. And so what I think is really interesting is Mac has been interested in making connections between art and community and really serving as a role model for our students. Combining her love of art education and art history with a campus museum internship, Kumpian created a series of informative videos guiding virtual museum experiences. Even during COVID, during lockdown, these videos allowed her to gain valuable looking and speaking experience while helping university museums reach viewers in our community and beyond. This engagement served Mac well, helping her guide her own path toward a career in museum education, acceptance into a master's program at NYU in the graduating class of 2023, and a number of graduate level internships at internationally renowned museums, including the Whitney and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. These have expanded the field of possibilities beyond the expectations that many of our female students in Southeast Texas might otherwise envision. Mac too stays connected with as an alumni mentor, and her work serves as yet another example of the ways that engagement with art history and museums can empower students locally and beyond. Thank you.